This is probably the easiest protein coffee you could make. 2 ingredients, protein shake, espresso. Let's do it. Hello world. Today, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. Never been here before. Few reasons I'm here. 1, travel experience, see the world. 2, this guy. It's my buddy Matt Vincent. Among many things, he's just a dope human being, and I know he loves coffee.
That's very true.
Typically though, from what I've gathered, you just drink black coffee, right?
Just black coffee, yeah, man. Just keep it simple. That way I can drink coffee basically anywhere.
Yeah.
My coffee snobbery part has left the more that I've traveled.
Okay.
And I will happily take whatever black coffee is best available at the time. If it is lovely espresso, what a treat. But I've had lots of mornings of instant coffee with a spoon.
Yeah, I feel that. If I'm drinking black coffee though, I don't know, I'm kind of weird. So I love black coffee, but I like it when it's hot. But today, dude, we're gonna make some cold coffee. I have my espresso machine. You're gonna be making the espresso.
What?
And we're gonna make a protein coffee.
I'm gonna say having one of these machines has been slightly overwhelming of an idea for me for a while. So
Okay, well this is perfect because this machine here is a really good beginner machine for somebody that may know about coffee but hasn't really made espresso before, because it's got everything built in that you need. Have you ever made espresso before?
no, let's do it.
Okay, perfect. Dude, I hate coffee snobs.
Venti is large.
No, Venti is 20.
I don't hate coffee snobs. I respect the craft.
Sure.
I really respect the craft because there is a lot that goes into it, from the growing the coffee to the distributing to the cleaning. Everything about it, there's a ton that goes into it. And so I really do respect it. However, just like anything, any niche, any culture, it can get gatekeepy. It can get hipstery ass holy vibes.
Yeah.
And so for me, I just drink coffee. Like, I know I could be better at making espresso probably. I could do all the tools and distribution and all that stuff. But we're just keeping it easy today. All right. So this has a built-in grinder. So
Okay.
all we do, we're just pouring in the coffee here, which is already poured in. You just take this here, which is called the portafilter, and you push it till you hear 1 click, and then it's going to automatically dose as much as you need.
You know, man, I do appreciate all the sobriety of it, of fancy machines I've seen different places and anything else. I just don't treat it as sacred.
RIP to these lost coffee grounds that we have going. So just pull the basket out and kind of like put your hand over the top a little bit. And then we're going to take this tool here, pop it on and kind of give it a few turns. It'll distribute it.
Oh, that's lovely.
They say you want to give it 40 pounds of pressure, but
I'm probably giving it 400 or so
mash
more
it.
right now. I'm
Probably.
guessing.
From here, one of the hardest parts, just lock it into the espresso machine here. That's it. Solid. Then we're going to take our glass, my favorite cup.
Oh, that's good fun.
That comes, so fun fact about this skull cup, this comes from back in my partying days. This was a death shot glass that we would use.
Oh, no.
So when you were trying to get fucked up, that's the
Yeah.
shot glass you'd use.
What was y'all's death shot?
Any alcohol.
Oh, man, because I worked at a bunch of gross bars, and occasionally you have these people that roll up to a bar and they're like, give me something crazy. That's dump it in there. Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
terrible.
God. That's fucking sick.
Usually those people are ready to puke anyway, so.
Fair enough. Press this button and our coffee is going to come out nice and beautiful. In espresso, there's 3 parts. There's the heart, which is this dark part at the bottom. There's the body, which is kind of this ombre area. And there's the crema on the top, this little layer of like creaminess, deliciousness. It's what keeps all the flavor inside. Next thing we're gonna do, we're making a protein latte, essentially,
it.
right? So pop in this cooler here. You're a chocolate guy?
Yeah.
All right, Matt's a chocolate guy, so we got our chocolate protein shake here. Take your cup, grab some ice too. Then literally pour the shake in there. Like I said, this is probably the easiest way that you could get your protein in, your caffeine in. I think these shakes have like less than 4 or 5 grams of carbs. So when you pour it in the cup, make sure you leave some room for the espresso. And then you're just gonna pour the espresso on top. Boom. That's it.
Yeah.
You can use any protein shake you want. The one we use has like 26 grams of protein, but typically I'll get like the one with 42 grams of protein just to kick it off. And I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
Oh, that's a lovely
It's
treat.
solid, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's delicious. Cheers.
Cheers on that.
All right, Matt, we got our drinks. I want to chat with you. I want to connect.
Let's chat.
Let's do it. Welcome to the Tailgate Coffee Table. Today, I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm here with a dude I get to call a friend. He is a 2-time Highland Games world champion. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's overall just a dope human being. This is Matt Vincent. If you don't know him, I hope you do, and I hope you get to know him better throughout this episode. Matt, thank you for being here, dude.
Yo, thank you, man. I'm honored, man. We've got to cross paths a number of times over the last couple of years, and I like getting to connect with people. So anybody out traveling and doing something like this, like, I'm all in.
Same. That's exactly why I'm doing it, just to connect. I've known a ton of people, or I've not known, but I've chatted with a ton of people on the internet for years, but I haven't met a lot of them in person.
Sure.
And now being able to do that, that's why I'm doing this. Just to connect in person and get to know somebody on a deeper level and maybe share a conversation with the world that they may not have seen on this other person's social media or whatever, and get to know somebody deeper. So the audience get to know this person deeper, I get to know and connect deeper, and just record it just to put it out there.
For sure.
Man, so the way I met Matt, I live in Austin and he was out there, and we both ended up at a Joe Rogan comedy show together, and I was feeling a little socially anxious that night. I don't know why. So we watched the show, and then the person that's hosting us takes us upstairs, and he's like, hey, I'm going to take this other guy to meet Joe Rogan, whatever. And so Matt and I are just standing out at the balcony, just him and I, and he just looks at me. He's like, do you feel fucking weird right now?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, dude, I don't know. Something just feels off.
Dude, I remember it so much. And I thought about it a lot, like driving home that night, and especially after our conversation of, just reading the vibe on a room. And there was this excitement of being there with Zach, and Zach knows Joe and has been on the show a number of times and was going to go hang out in the green room. But it was very clearly evident at some point that, like, Zach was invited in, and there was a crowd of people. And so, like, they weren't just allowing random folks into the back. And then there was this awkward piece of us, like, standing around waiting for an opportunity to meet someone. And it just made my fucking skin crawl, man. I remember leaving there and I was like, you don't ever do that again. You don't ever go against that gut feeling again. You will fucking leave. Like, what are you doing? You're a grown man. Like, why are you in this situation of feeling this way out of... It feels a little awkward to leave. Like, I could have very easily just sent the text to Zach and been like, hey, man, I went home. But I didn't for some reason. And, like, I had a definite conversation with myself afterwards of, like, we don't ever feel that again.
Yeah, dude, it was just weird. The vibe was just off.
It was forced.
It was, that's it. It was 100% forced. And I hate doing things that are forced.
No
that's
good.
Like, if it's, Matt has said this a lot. He says, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a no.
Yep.
And that night was not a fuck yes. But
sure not.
Silver lining is that Matt and I got to connect on a deeper level. We ended up having a conversation that we were instantly on the same wavelength. Matt's a little bit older than me, and I was telling him some of the stuff I was dealing with and going through, and some of my struggles or whatever. It just felt like an open conversation where I could share that stuff. And he was like, dude, I feel like you're sharing the experiences I went through 6 or 7 years ago, and kind of gave me some words of advice. And it was just a really, really great conversation. I'm super grateful for where it's led to, and the fact that I'm here and we're going to connect even more. Man, again, dude, just thank you for letting me pull up to your facility.
Of course.
Bring the tailgate coffee table to you. So something that I think is very unique and cool about Matt is that he's a 2-time Highland Games world champion, and I'll be the first to admit I am not fully educated on the Highland Games, and so I want to use this conversation as a piece of this conversation as an opportunity for you to educate me and anyone else about the Highland Games and how you got into it and how it has affected your life.
Highland Games are this, I get kind of ancient athletics, right? So you're talking about historical Scottish heavy athletics is how it began. The history behind it is when the English disarmed the Scottish still figured out ways to train. And they're training for battle, they're training for things, they're using farm equipment and various other stuff, and then they would have clan competitions to kind of have these, way to compete, way to test yourselves, way to push yourselves, stay sharp for battle. And so over time, as that became more just clan competitions, it's existed for 700 plus years. I got into it after being a thrower at LSU, and you kind of know the Highland Games exist, like if you're in the throwers world. Got a chance to do one in 2008 after I had dove into powerlifting and strongman and weightlifting a bit more seriously, and I loved it.
like immediately took all this information that I had gained from 15 years of college or for 4 years of throwing in college, 4 years of throwing in high school, and all this put together with the strength training that I was doing now. And it was a perfect combination at the time. Got a chance to do it, felt good at it, and a couple years later won a few world championships. And that sport opened so many doors of meeting other weirdos that are into stuff like that doesn't make sense to general population of people. And then getting to travel and see the world and compete and make friends all over the planet has come from that thing. And so getting to compete in that sport was incredible. And the sport's divided up into 9 events. So you have 2 stones you throw for distance, just like the shot put. You have a heavy and a light. And then you have weights you throw for distance, a heavy and a light. And you have hammers you throw for distance, a heavy and a light. We throw a weight over a bar, like a 56-pound weight. And then we throw the caber, which is the one most people are familiar with. They've seen the chubby guys in kilts throwing the telephone pole. Like that's the caber. And then the last event is called the sheaf. And it's a 20-pound burlap bag that you throw for height over a bar using a pitchfork. So I traveled with a pitchfork around the world for a number of years.
It's very primal type of
Yeah.
things that you're doing. You're throwing things, you're picking things up. I mean, do you think it translates well to moving as a human being? Or is it something that's very more so sport specific?
It's very sport specific. But as far as like moving like a human being, if I want to compare it to some of the other strength sports like strongman, which I would say is more like moving like a human being, except at an extreme level. Whereas like powerlifting, weightlifting are such fixed plane doing the weights. The fun thing about Highland Games compared to the other strength sports that I really loved about it was this unique challenge that the weights never get heavier. You know, in strongman and powerlifting, as you improve, the weights always go up with you. Whereas the weights in Highland Games haven't changed for hundreds and hundreds of years. So you've got to be able to move faster or apply more force. Right? So the weights have always stayed the same. It's can you throw it further than anyone else?
Yeah.
And it requires such a different thing of speed, technique, and strength. And so you're really trying to play balance between those things a ton.
Interesting.
So as much as that you're trying to move faster, gain more leverage, build more flexibility, those things I think it applies really well. As far as like really transferable skills, who knows?
Yeah.
But I do think it creates more athletic ability.
Okay. Does it have any impact on your training today? Does any of that stuff, anything, what does your training look like nowadays? Because that was, how many years ago was that?
I retired in 2016 when the knee gave up.
Okay.
Training now is so much more focused on longevity, especially after a major injury and coming out of that and realizing that chances are I'm not going to be best in the world at a thing again. And so like, I don't have to give anything that much focus. We already found it. Like, let's dabble and fucking play with some stuff and let's pick up all the newbie gains we can from a bunch of things we've never got to explore.
Yeah.
So I've dabbled in a bit more endurance stuff as I think more zone 2 cardio is going to aid more in longevity for me health-wise. That also works with inflammation. That also decreases life mortality risk and gives me fuel to do the things I'm excited about now, which are a bit more adventure-y. And so training according to that. Now, how does it still impact my training now? I still really like maces and kettlebells just because there's so much you're moving and working with an object kind of flowing. And that reminds me of throwing a lot. So does boxing or any of that, where I'm generating force from the ground into my hands instead of just linear motion like a bench press.
Got you. And so you mentioned adventure and longevity. You travel a lot.
Yes.
And that's something I admire about what you do. And traveling is something that obviously I'm trying to
man.
do. I've been on the road a lot
stoked
this
you're
year.
doing this.
And when it comes to travel, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about your life through your many years of traveling across the world?
Most recently would just really be the gratitude, man, for all of it. That I live in the time that I currently live in. That it is this easy to travel and see the world. That we do have this stuff, and we take for granted a lot of things like airplanes and how nice our interstate system is and getting around. And as I've traveled more and been to places that don't have that infrastructure, being born in America in 1984 to two parents that love me is the greatest head start that I've had of ever. And thinking about, 100 years ago, you can't do any of this. Like this past week, I drove out to we left last week at this time on Tuesday, drove to Idaho, hosted a retreat, and drove back. If you go back 100 years, that is an impossible journey. Like that's people in wagons
Yeah.
making their way through the mountains. And I did it at comfortable speeds in a chair with the air condition running. Like I have God-level travel ability compared to the last 200,000 years of human.
Yeah.
And so just having some gratitude and awareness for how cool it is to even have the option to do it.
I'm right there with you. It's something that I've become super grateful for. As the last few years, I have been more intentional to travel. When I was younger, I grew up in the Northwest, so the Pacific Northwest. I'm from Washington State originally, so I was in the Boy Scouts. I did a ton of hiking and camping and hunting. And however, I hadn't traveled outside of the West Coast, even to the Midwest or, I don't know, the central part of North America. And now the last few years, I've been really making myself go see all I can see. And it's kind of like you said, I think that one of the biggest lessons that I have learned from traveling is gratitude. I wake up in a new place, seeing how beautiful it is, and also being thankful to live in America, because there is so much landscape and so many different types of environments to experience here in America that, man, I feel like I don't know how long it would take to really go and appreciate every single thing that we have here in the United States. Favorite place you've ever traveled?
I've got favorite places for different reasons.
Okay, I'd love to hear it.
Like Iceland to me still after 15 trips holds a really special place.
Wow.
That was my first real place outside of the country that like as soon as you land you're like, we're not in Kansas anymore. Like it looks different, it feels different, the energy's different. And that, to me, for sure sparked off the desire to want to go. There's also still just whatever the vibe is or frequency that Iceland has resonates. I connect with it. I've always felt home there. So Iceland's really, really special. The last couple years, travel has changed up quite a bit. I've got to go to Egypt and spend some time in the Middle East around Jordan, and then I've been in Africa a lot the last couple years. So I've been in Uganda, Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ethiopia, and now Rwanda. Africa is really fascinating. So getting to see a lot of that and experience it is very eye-opening. Again, back to the gratitude of how great the opportunity it is we have to be alive now and chase dreams, because that's not equal everywhere.
In Africa, you have been doing work, right? And I've seen it across your social medias. Haven't got a chance to catch up with you about it. So fill me in a little bit on what you've been doing in Africa. I know it's with another guy, Justin.
Yeah.
So fill me in a little bit on what you've been doing over there.
So I connected with Justin a few years ago. Justin Wren, for those of you who don't know, he's a previous MMA fighter. He's now public speaking and sharing his story, and he's CEO of Fight for the Forgotten. Justin hit Brant and I up to come and help him capture footage and tell the story of what they're doing in Uganda with putting in clean water drinking wells, supporting the Botswana Pygmy people, and building this community around Olingama in western Uganda, where, man, they don't have anything. And so giving sustainable water and giving some land and giving some homes, food, water, and shelter gets taken care of. Now we can start building some opportunity and see that really take place. It is a collaboration a lot more than what I've always expected the charity thing to be from an outsider looking in.
Okay.
And so since working with Justin, we've leaned into kind of helping out with their social media approach and marketing and creating content for them with the information, with all the videos that we go get.
Yeah. So on the inside, it can be an angsty question. It can be a tricky question, but does that work you're doing make you feel fulfilled?
So for me, when we talk about purpose and we talk about like what direction it is we want to chase, and it's changed a lot over the years, and I imagine it's going to continue to change. But right now, like my aim and mission is I want to create for a living. That's pretty much as simple as it gets. I want to create things I'm passionate about for a living. And if that is creating this connection, amazing. If that's creating impact by working with people that I do with mentorship and coaching, incredible. If it is creating content that inspires someone to do something, I'm in. And that's part of being over there. I get a chance to help create something bigger than me. You know, and it's really nice because it doesn't have anything to do with me. Whereas most of the other work I've done for the last 10 years, I'm on this side of the camera a bit.
Gotcha.
And over there, I'm not at all. And so that's been really great. Just trying to, how do I lend the skills that I've developed over the last 10 years to best help this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do we collaborate and use your skills, which Justin is incredible at, and my skills, which is this other side of things, to benefit more people? How do we use it to create an impact? Or how do we use it to create this community? Or how do we use it to create progress?
How do you feel like it's changed over the years for you? Do you feel like is it something you're very conscious of, intentional about, of the way you're living your life? Because I feel like when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we can often not even realize that we're on the correct path. And it 1000% changes as we age and get older. And when we're younger, maybe we have a lack of sense of direction or whatever the case may be. If you're reflecting back on, I don't know, your 20s, going into your 30s or whatever, how have you noticed things change for you? How have you noticed that, I don't know, either that intention or that direction? How has that evolutionized as you've grown older?
You know, like a lot of people, my 20s and 30s and kind of going into being an adult and buying a house, being married, having a career, all those things, there was a lot of check boxes of what I'm supposed to do. And like you said that, like, am I supposed to do it? I've really tried to completely eliminate that idea because I want to do. I don't believe anything is inherently important that I'm supposed to do in the grand cosmic scheme of things. So therefore, it's all choice. And I think the better that I can be with my time, the more intentional I am with all of my choices, having them align with what I'm currently into. You know, so being able to kind of shift out of those things of like, I did that thing that everyone was kind of into and I didn't feel it. You know, or looking at Highland Games and being really excited about the idea of winning world championships and realizing the world championship itself is really invaluable and just doesn't really hold any value. It's a moment. But the decade worth of connections and friendships and travel and discipline and self-talk and repetitions are what made me great. So now being able to look at, like, how do I apply that to the other things I'm interested in? And how do I give so much little a fuck about anything not on my path so that I can stay intentional about my time?
Got you. Would you say that is, I don't know, kind of the way that you put it, in not giving a fuck about things and doing what you want and not feeling like there's any need to be doing specific things in your life? Would you, I mean, people are searching for quote unquote happiness. People want to be happy. Does that kind of define happiness to you? Doing what you want and not giving
grand
a fuck?
scheme of things, sure.
Okay.
But I mean, happiness is a moment. Like, happiness is a short-term feeling.
Okay.
And it's going to come and go. Like, we're going to influx to other feelings, and I'm excited to feel everything. I want to be enthusiastic. Like, that's something I can put my finger on. Happiness is a little different, but I want to choose stuff that I'm excited about. Because I know me well enough at 40 that if I'm excited about a thing and I'm curious about getting better at it, I'll show up to play with it. Yeah. I'll show up and figure it out. I don't have to force myself out of some weird obligation to do it. And when I'm in that, like, that's a lot more flow state. That's a lot more the stuff that's really feeding me, that I naturally get better at, that I obsess over, the same way I did Highland Games, right? Like, no one's forcing me to do that. No one's interested, in fact. But I loved it. And it was that pursuit of something I loved so unreasonably that gave me the confidence to pursue whatever it is I love. And so it's really taking like your give a fucks, right? Like if you have so much amount of energy in your battery every day, I want as much of that going toward the things that I'm excited about and none of the distractions that are trying to get my energy.
Got you. Okay. Perfect. I'm glad that you said that. So that ties into 1612.
Sure.
So would you say that is kind of would you say like it's a mantra that you've kind of developed?
Yeah, that's definitely all part of current idea and philosophy.
All right. So I would love for you to share what 1612 what that is and what it means.
Look, we all have moments in our life of a life-changing kick in the ass. And in 2014, my father passed away. Pancreatic cancer, had an 11-month fight, and died. The coincidence of it was him dying the day before I turned 31 at 62. And so for me, it was just this big, wide, bright light hitting me in the face of like, you're halfway. You're halfway through your life. Like the ride is half over. And what are you going to do? Because no matter what, like I know that I'm on a collision course with some undefined time in the future that it is over. Like that's a fact. Like I'm going to die. Like same as I was born. Like it's the mystery in between that's exciting. And at 31, if I put the time marker at 62 when my father passed, that's 1,612 weeks left to live. And so now at 41, as this year was 10 years past, I think this week marks 1,074 weeks left to go. And so every week is a journal reflection. I look at, I've got a jar full of marbles in my office that I had started with that many marbles and now have this many. And when I pull it out, the reflection is simply how did I spend it, right? How did I spend this week? Did I spend it in obligation? Did I spend it frustrated? Did I spend it doing a bunch of shit reactionary? Did I spend it only in time trying to catch up to what yesterday told me was important? Or was I involved? Was I present? Was I chasing things I'm passionate about? Was I exploring life? Was I in love? Was I present? Because either way, it goes in the trash.
Dude, I love it. I think that it's interesting. It's very interesting to me because being present is a very personal thing to figure out how to do. And I really find it interesting the different ways that different people create the ability to be present. And, you know, talking about 1612, it sounds like it's a reminder, like a way of life and something to keep you in check.
Yes.
Like you just said, to make sure that you are being present and experiencing this finite amount of time that we have here on the physical earth. And everyone finds their own thing. And for me, it was BTC. It was just a simple acronym, and it was break the cycle. Because I think it applies to a lot of people. I grew up with an interesting childhood. My father left when I was very, very young. My mom, you know, she was very young when she had me, so a lot of my childhood she was partying and doing all that stuff, and I parented myself and my younger sister, and so there was no time to be a kid, essentially. And as I became an adult, you realize all of these patterns that you are repeating that are could be very childish, or just could be because of the past experiences you've had. And saying BTC to myself, break the cycle, I feel like that would similarly equate to, you know, seeing 1612 tattooed on your knuckles and giving you that reminder to be like, I'm in the present moment. I'm choosing to live here and now because it's the best thing I can do for myself.
Yeah, I love that, right? And so with one-on-one clients, a lot of what I work on is accountability and high-performance mindset. And so one of the things that, like, if I was just looking at my throwing and I'm trying to get better at it, just like I am life or hosting a podcast or doing anything else, when I watch a video of me throwing and, like, review it, I don't have any emotional attachment to a feeling of like, oh man, I'm not getting over the left foot enough, I just adjust. But a lot of changes that we want to rewire about ourselves, we have attachment to. That it is me, it is this, right? That it's not it's an emotional connection to it. And then if I let go of this, what does that say about who I've been in any number of things?
Too good.
And so this break the cycle piece, like what I teach with clients is how I rewire habits and thoughts and patterns. And the first thing that has to happen is an awareness that I have that I'm doing a thing. That's it. Like I can't fix a thing that I'm not aware of. And as soon as I have awareness of it, it allows me to make a choice. And that's where the power is. And so even if it's been in this whole habit that you don't want to do anymore, right? It's the first thing is I need you to be able to just acknowledge like, oh, I'm doing that thing. Catch it. And then the shift that I make from where I used to be and how I operate, which would have been beating myself up and being pissed that I made this mistake again, and then being mad at myself for a couple weeks and really making sure I lash myself on the back for this mistake again. Now, I really understand, man, that I'm not going to guilt and shame myself into abundance and happiness.
For sure.
Just doesn't fucking work.
Not at all.
And so now whenever I catch it, as soon as I have the awareness of it, it's immediately into gratitude of rewiring and saying like, thank you for noticing we can do something different. Thank you for choosing a different route. Thank you for choosing a different plan that serves who we want to be instead of who we've been. And so I lay into the gratitude on the backside of it. And instead of this negative reinforcement, it becomes this positive shift of being so stoked that I caught it. And over time, the goal is to catch it faster. You know, return back to the course that you want to be on as quickly as possible. Because it's not about this perfect effort that people want to believe it takes to become their best. It's consistency more than anything. Like, I need to know that you'll make these steps and take care of yourself 300 days this year instead of trying to do it 20 days in a row. One's more important than the other grand scheme of things. So being able to break that cycle, like you're saying, which I call like the catch, that's how I start breaking it. I start having to go into this intentional gratitude and being conscious. And the longer I can do that will help shape the subconscious in the direction I want it to go.
Yeah, I would say that being aware is a win in itself, because for so many years you probably live without the awareness.
Or you feel like it's an attack.
Yeah, 100%. Bad people don't even know what bad is. And they've never experienced trying to fight bad or stop being bad. So they don't have any awareness of what doing something bad actually is. And I think that change out that word bad for anything else that you want to change it out to. And it's totally applicable. If you just have never experienced good or never experienced catching an emotion before it takes control, you don't know any better. And so that first time that you're able to be aware of this negative feeling or catch yourself doing something that you know is not serving you, that's a moment that you can start to feel grateful for too. People catastrophize and they just make everything way too complicated.
Well, think about, though, as a species, it served us really good for a really long time to identify problems. You know, identify threats, identify what's coming after us, because, man, the good things aren't trying to kill you. And for a really long time, they were. The problem is because our problems of what they are now, as I'm going to say problems 12 times, with what our struggles are now in comparative to the last, history of humans, especially here in the Western world, like, it's all abundance, right? Like, we're fat because we have more food than we've ever had available for the first time in human history, and we have no idea what to do with it. Any number of things. And so being able to first have that awareness piece of, one, how great things are, and then be able to decipher the difference between discomfort and danger. They're not the same. I know we feel uncomfortable, we get anxious, we have this internal turmoil, but it's not the same as danger. However, because it is like the highest intense feeling we've felt, we register it as danger. We look at it as though this is it. Like, we're in fucking actual trouble, and your body tenses up. We go into fight or flight, or we start chest breathing. We get cortisol levels. Our hormones change. We don't sleep. Instead of being able to realize, I can slow down, get some tools, learn how to refocus, which we don't teach, or we haven't. And whether that's because of any reason, I don't really care. It hasn't been, it's helpful. Maybe we should learn it.
Yeah. If you're somebody that's trying to make a change in your life, I would really love for you to go back and listen to the last couple minutes of this conversation. If I could summarize it, I would probably say it starts with awareness, or it starts with catching what you're trying to change, and then choosing to do something differently, or choosing to live in a way that's serving you, or make the choice that serves you, and being grateful for both of those things. Being grateful that you caught it, and being grateful that you have the power to choose. And I think that those simple things done repeatedly, consistently, can transform your life.
Yeah. I think as long as you also remove some expectations about how long the change is going to take.
That's great.
And also understand that it doesn't require perfection to do it. I mean, that's Atomic Habits by James Clear, or any of this isn't talking about making this macro change of habits. It's not about doing this full 180 every day and expecting perfection. It's the microdosing that makes any change. The same way if we're training, right? Like, you don't go train one day a month for 10 hours. Like, I need you to go 30 minutes every day and do a little. Like, I need you to push yourself enough to create the adaptation. And how lucky we are to be at the first time in human history that we get to choose the stress we'd like to adapt to. What a fascinating thing. But with that said, you have to choose some stress. We need it. It keeps us sharp. Otherwise, why would your body express its full capabilities and what its possible strength could be, what its possible endurance, what its best possible health would be, if it's never aware that it needs to? It needs to be tested, you know. And so using the sauna, using the cold plunge, these other modalities give you a chance to reach a little bit of max level discomfort every day and be able to sit with it and be like, yeah, we're okay. This is uncomfortable. I'm not in pain. I'm uncomfortable. I'm not in danger. I can still breathe and sit here. I can find being present. And it's a tool, and it's a real skill to be present. I mean, we've been inundated with screens and information from jump, and so of course all of us can multitask. What repetition we have at doing it. And then we chalk up anybody who struggles with focus as having some fucking problem that they then identify with and then make decisions for them as like, oh, I won't be able to do that. I've got ADHD.
Yeah.
When in fact, like, when's the last time you worked on learning how to focus? When's the last time you worked on learning how to sit still? You know, it's okay to sit in front of the TV for 6 hours and scroll on your phone at the same time. But if I asked you to give me 10 minutes of sitting still, you act like your skin's being boiled. Like, yo, be able to sit with yourself. Be okay with it. Let that thing run out of gas for a little while. Get bored. Otherwise, it's just this constant inundation, you know, being inundated with information instead of formulating any of your own ideas around what you feel.
Yeah. Why is it so hard for people to do that?
I don't know that it's necessarily hard for people to do that.
Okay.
I think the options that distract us from doing that are really good.
Okay. Yeah. Valid.
They're really, really good, man. Our phone as a tool is incredible. I get it. I get it. It has all the information of forever. I can listen to any song I want to, any movie available, any book, communicate with people around the world, look at what anyone else is doing instead of sitting in line.
Yeah.
Of course it's better. But we're still in such the first pendulum swing of having access to this much information about the people and world around us that we've got to figure out how to manage it a little bit better so it doesn't consume us. Because there's still so much in there that really doesn't have shit to do with what I want to do today.
Yeah. 1000%.
And so where am I giving my energy? Is my energy going to the things I'm in love with? Or am I allowing it to be harvested from me by sitting here and staring at this screen that just wants to advertise to me?
Something that I respect about you is that you're very wise. And, you know, I think that it comes with time and experience for sure. It comes with choosing the hard things for sure. I guess where I'm kind of going with this is I'm curious about your spirituality.
Sure.
If that comes from an a spot inside, if there's like a higher power, if there's what that is. I don't know. It can be a hot topic, but what that is that you resonate with.
So I think at this point in my life, right, I would have spent the majority of my 20s very confidently atheist. And I'm not there anymore. I don't know that I think any of the traditional texts have it quote unquote right, but I think there's a lot of similarities in all of them. And so overarching big picture ideas, I think, pretty much align. For me, I think really the power is all within us. I'm not so much interested in praying to some overarching father figure.
Okay.
I look at the higher power for me as perhaps just the entirety of the universe.
Okay.
And that we are part of it. At the atomic level, all the way up. I mean, if we zoom in enough, right, like we're simply just empty space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like the universe is. And so for me, looking at that, and then also the nihilistic approach of things that I like, of nothing being inherently important, including my existence, including Earth, including humans, not being important in the grand scheme of the universe, then what a chance it is to do what I want with it.
Yeah.
What's important is you stepping into becoming the best version of you and the opportunity that we have to exist. I think this is the gift. I think the afterlife and heaven and hell for me is based on information we have of people getting close to death. You know, we don't really have any information of anyone who's crossed the void and never come back, so who knows what's on the other side of that. But we do have stories of at least people in those moments having this flash, this reliving time, and there's this time dilation, right, that I got to experience my entire life in this blink of an eye and then came back.
Yeah.
So maybe as time dilates, because it does, I can recognize that in normal existence, right? That like if I'm on autopilot and staring at the TV screen, 6 hours just boop, whereas 3 minutes in the cold plunge, totally different. So time dilates based on how present you are. And so when you're super present and you're in that thing, perhaps at the last moment of our life when this time dilates and that last final second is this afterlife, this infinity. Hell is reliving a life full of watching yourself not step into who you want to be, doing things out of obligation, watching you miss the opportunities, watching you not have confidence, watching you not take care of yourself. The whole way through, on repeat, forever. And heaven is reliving the life that you're proud of. It's reliving the life that you're the most excited and enthusiastic about. It's getting to do that and spend it with the people that you love again and again and again, because you stepped into the thing that set your soul on fire, not what the allegedly you were supposed to do.
Wow. Dude, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Everything you've shared with me today has been awesome. I mean, this conversation has been nothing short of amazing. And I think tons of people could really use the information that you shared with me and with them today, inadvertently. I feel like we could keep going for a long time.
Sure.
But my goal with this show is to give people digestible information that, you know, we talked about it, that they can keep their attention on for 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Yeah, of course.
Just to wrap things up real quick, I have this question that I like to ask to all my people that I hang out with before we close. And it's a question that we get asked when we're kids and in middle school and high school and all that shit. And it's, who do you want to be when you grow up? But we don't stop growing up.
Nope.
And so I like to ask that to my adult guests. Who do you want to be when you grow up?
If I look back 10 years ago, no way I can predict what I'm currently doing with my life. And so 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what I want is for him to have as many options to pursue the things that he's in love with as possible. Being physically fit, being financially stable, being mentally able to have discipline and show up for stuff. Like, it's almost like a bank account that gives me options to go after stuff. If I'm confident and I want to pursue something outlandish like starting a new business or doing any of these, there has to be the self-awareness of like, we can do that. I know the cost and being able to go toward it. Who do I want to be when I grow up, man? I just want to inspire people to live the most of it. I mean, I look at the lunatics that I'm drawn to, and it's Anthony Bourdain, it's Hunter S. Thompson, it's these guys that played by their rules the whole way through, no matter how that ended. But there's lots of guys that stay aligned with that instead of chasing this outside idea of what it's supposed to be. No one fucking cares. My time will be over and forgotten, and in less time than I was alive, no one will remember. So what's the risk? So for me, I want to figure it out. I want to see what I'm truly capable of in this existence if I give it everything I've got.
Love it. Love it, man. Thank you again. I really, really enjoyed listening to you talk today. I mean, I just enjoy being able to kind of give you a quick prompt and then let you do your thing and enjoy what's going on, what's coming out of there. It's my favorite thing about people is getting to hear their perspective and their unique take on all things life. And Matt, dude, again, thank you for being here. I mean, thank you for letting me come here. Yeah, thank you for letting me pull up with the tailgate coffee table.
Of course, man, of course.
And let me pop your espresso making cherry and drinking some coffee together and sharing all that you know with the world. And I'll drop Matt's socials and stuff in the comments. But I hope you got a ton from today's conversation. I know I did, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.